Hello, and welcome to God in Our City, the Daily Edition. Your host and Bible teacher is Pastor Dave Watson. Pastor Dave has been the pastor of Calvary Chapel on Staten Island for 35 years. In addition, he is the co-founder and president of the New York Institute for Biblical Studies. To receive a special downloadable gift from Pastor Dave, please go to calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. That's calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. Now here's Pastor Dave and our show.
Welcome. I am Pastor Dave Watson, pastor of Calvary Chapel on Staten Island. I also have the wonderful privilege of being one of the co-founders and the president of the New York Institute for Biblical Studies. And we just have an incredible opportunity to be with you here on Monday, the 10th of February. Where is February gone? And we're trusting that you're doing well, you're walking with the Lord, and you're excited about what he's going to do in your life in the coming weeks and months. And I hope that this program is a blessing to you, that across our platforms of WMCA 570 and 102.3 FM radio and Facebook and YouTube, that you're getting something out of this. You're growing. We are right now in a little bit of a class. We've been looking at basic Christianity, and we'll continue that today. But I just wanted to mention a couple things to you. First, tonight's the first class of the New York Institute for Biblical Studies spring term. If you are available, if you're interested in taking a course, simply go to nyibs.net. That's nyibs.net. You'll find there all the information you need to register. It's not too late to register. You can register right now. It's a little after 6. We have classes at 7 and 8:30. We'd love to have you. nyibs.net. If you like the way the Bible's being taught, we would love to have you to be part of our class, one of the students in our school. Our school is competent. Most of our teachers have above a bachelor's degree. In fact, everybody either has the experience or the equivalent or the actual degree of master's degree. A few of us have doctorates. And so it's very competent. It's close. Most of our classes now are virtual, so you can just take them in the comfort of your home. They're caring. We're not a big institution, so we can give you some time. And beyond all of that, it's cost effective. It won't break your bank. So please consider taking a class at nyibs.net. That's nyibs.net. Still further, would just like to encourage you to download the notes for this course that we've been going through. You can get them free at at calvarychapelsi.org, calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. You'll see an opportunity there to download these courses for free. You just check on that and download it. It's absolutely yours. And we're doing something a little bit more this month. I hope will be a blessing to you. We have gotten some things that are really from a while back in the Christian world. They're called Jesus First pins. You may have remembered a few people wearing them, but we have these and we want to give them to you at no cost. So not even shipping. So if you go to that website, calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC, we're going to give you 2 Jesus First pins, one for you, one for a friend. Some you can put on your lapel, on your jacket, on your hat, on your purse, wherever it works. And it's saying to the people around you, Jesus is first in my life. We want to give those to you free of charge. So please go to that website, calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC, and we will get one to you as soon as we possibly can. Now, just beyond that, there at that website, if you want to give to the God in Our City ministry, we would greatly appreciate it. Every gift is appreciated. Every gift is tax deductible. And if you are able to give over $100 to the God in Our City ministry, we want to send to you our God in Our City New Testament. It has our logo engraved on it. It's one of the best New Testaments I've ever found in terms of size and my ability to read it. And we'd love for you to have it. And if you're able to give us a gift of $100 or more, our way of saying thanks will be to send the Bible to you. Hey, let's bow our heads in prayer and ask God's blessing on this week's of Bible study, and praying that God just touch all of our lives. Lord, thank you for what it means to be yours, and thank you for the incredible opportunity we have to share you with our audience. Please, Lord, touch each of our hearts. Bring us all closer to you. Help us to get to know you better. And Lord, help us to give you our hearts, not just halfway, but fully. As we talk this week about sitting at the feet of Jesus, please, Lord, minister to us as only you can. In Jesus' name, amen. So this week, we're kind of concluding the class that we have been going through. And again, if you want an actual class with us, go to nyibs.net, nyibs.net. But we've been talking about various avenues, various aspects of the Christian life. And this week, we want to talk about what it means to be a disciple. And we're going to do that with this concept called sitting at the feet of Jesus. It's very, very interesting. In the book of Luke, we find 6 times that people are sitting at the feet of Jesus. And that's very, very significant, because in the New Testament world, when you were a disciple of someone, it was said that you sat at their feet. Paul, in Acts 22, verse 3, sits at the feet of Gamaliel. And what that means is he's a disciple of his. Luke observes that and or writes down that truth is real, and he's very intentional in doing that. And Luke also wrote Luke. And so I think that what it means to be a disciple, it means to sit at the feet of Jesus. And when we talk about sitting at the feet of Jesus, we're going to talk about some very, very specific things. We're going to see that in the book of Luke, the 5th chapter, Peter is sitting at the feet of Jesus, and that results in him following Jesus. We're going to then go to the 7th chapter, and we're going to see that the woman, the sinner, as she's called by some, washing Jesus's feet. And where is she doing that? She's doing it as she's sitting at his feet. She's sitting at the feet of Jesus, serving. So what it means to be a disciple? We should be following. We should be serving. When we get to the 8th chapter of the book of Acts, we see Jesus there healing that demonic man. And the text speaks of him being at Jesus's feet in his right mind. Again, sitting at the feet of Jesus. And in that case, he's testifying. He's a witness to all the townspeople. Same chapter, we see Jairus, a leader of the synagogue whose daughter is deathly ill. He comes to Jesus and sits at his feet, casts himself at his feet, begging him to heal her, to come and heal her. We see then yet another aspect of what it means to be a disciple, to sit at the feet of Jesus, interceding, following, serving, testifying, interceding. But wait, there's more. A little bit later, in the 10th chapter, we have that amazing story of Mary and Martha. Martha is cumbered about with what? Much serving, right? But Mary is where? She's sitting at the feet of Jesus, listening. She's sitting at the feet of Jesus, listening. We find in this again, we find here again a principle regarding what it means to be a disciple. We need to sit at the feet of Jesus, listening. And then finally, when you get to the 17th chapter of the book of Acts, remember the story of the 10 lepers and how 9 of them didn't come back, 1 did. And then we find him where? Sitting at the feet of Jesus, worshiping. So what we're going to talk about this week is what it means to be a disciple. It's basic Christianity. And what it means to be a disciple means I need to be sitting at the feet of who? Jesus. I need to be sitting at the feet of Jesus and following him. I need to be sitting at the feet of Jesus, serving him. I need to be sitting at the feet of Jesus, testifying of him. I need to be sitting at the feet of Jesus, interceding to him. I need to be sitting at the feet of Jesus, listening to him. And I need to be sitting at the feet of Jesus, worshiping him. That's what it means to be a disciple. Now, what is the goal of being a disciple? Why do we want to go to all the trouble of being a disciple? What's the goal of that? Well, the goal of being a disciple is Christ likeness. The goal of being a disciple is Christ likeness. In the book of Luke, the 6th chapter, the 40th verse, Luke lays out that very simple principle. That very, very simple principle. I'm going to read it right now for you out of my God in Our City New Testament. But it says in Luke chapter 6, verse 40, a disciple is not above his teacher, but everyone, when he is fully trained, will be like his teacher. What is the product? What is the end result of a disciple being fully trained? They are like Jesus. They are like Jesus. So as we begin to think about the book of Luke, and as we begin to look through Luke with our eyes now peeled toward this idea of being a disciple, I want us to recognize something. I think it's simple, but in many ways it's profound. Luke went with Paul everywhere from Acts 16 on, it seems. And he saw Paul planting churches. He then sits down to write 2 very long letters, treaties. It's just amazingly long. The book of Luke and the book of Acts. Why does he write these? Well, he tells us in Acts, and he tells us in Luke, that he writes them to Theophilus, so that Theophilus might have a better understanding of the things that have happened. That's very interesting. The name Theophilus means God lover, or lover of God. It may very well be that Theophilus is an individual, but it surely is that as Luke writes, he's writing not to just one individual, he's writing to all the God lovers. He wants them to know what it means to be a disciple. He has seen the Apostle Paul lead lots of people to Christ. He has watched the Apostle Paul establish those people in the faith. And now he's laying forth what it means to be a follower of Christ, what it means to be a disciple of Christ from the perspective of sitting at the feet of Jesus. You may not have heard it that way before. May not have remembered it expressed that way, but it is a very, very biblical concept. What does it mean to be a disciple? In the days of Jesus, it meant you sat at the feet of the one who taught you. People would walk by and see you. What are they doing? They're sitting at the feet of who? The one who's teaching them. In the disciples' case, they were sitting at the feet of Jesus. And they were, in that way, They were learning what it means to be a disciple, that on a daily basis they must follow him. We'll talk more about that as we go on. On a daily basis, they must serve him. On a daily basis, they must intercede to him. On a daily basis, they must go beyond, serving and following and interceding. They have to be testifying of him, and then listening to him, and as well worshiping him. That's what it means to be a disciple. Now, the end product of this discipleship stuff, this discipleship mantra that we have. Remember, we're told to go and make disciples of all nations. The end product of that should be Christ likeness. Christ likeness. Now, one of the things that I find difficult, or have found difficult, is quantifying what it means to be like Jesus. I say that because it seems to me that in many, many, many cases, we don't really know what it means to be like Christ. We say, like, I need to be more loving. I need to be more peaceful. I need to be more joyful. And in those cases, I always need to be more. Let me tell you that I think there are some very simple things we can learn, again, from the book of Luke, that help us to see what it means to be Christ-like. Well, what does Luke say in terms of what it means to be Christ-like? What does he lay out for us? Well, let's think of Jesus in the book of Matthew, the 4th chapter. Jesus in the book of Matthew, the 4th chapter, is being tempted by Satan. He's tempted 3 times. And then it says, that Satan left him, and we know he left him until there was a convenient season. But he left him. Well, what's happening there? Jesus is being tempted. He's being tempted with reference to the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, the same way we all are tempted. Jesus used the temptations he faced as opportunities to obey God. One way I can be like Christ is to use the temptations I face, to be like Christ, but even more, to obey God. Jesus used his temptations to obey God. Let me say that again. Jesus used the temptations he faced to do what? Obey God. He saw them as opportunities to obey God. Well, let's move a little bit further. A little bit later on in Jesus's life, Jesus finds himself in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he's praying. And what does he pray? He says, Father, if it's possible, let this cup pass. Nevertheless, not my will, but what? Your will be done. Jesus is facing a tremendous trial. Jesus used the temptations he faced as opportunities to obey God. Jesus uses this trial that he's facing to trust God. I know trials aren't fun. I don't like trials at all, and I know you don't like trials at all. We count it all joy because we know God is doing something in our lives, but we don't necessarily look for trials to go through. But what did Jesus do with reference to the trials he was facing? He used them as an opportunity to trust God. God, you know what you're doing. Now, if we look at Jesus's life as a whole, we see that Jesus used his time very, very, very carefully. He bathed, as it were, everything he was doing in prayer. The call of the disciples, call of his disciples, where he was to go next. Jesus used his time as an opportunity to serve God. He used the temptations he faced as an opportunity to obey God. He used the trials as an opportunity to trust God. He used the time as an opportunity to serve God. And there's one other thing that happens. Jesus is on the cross in the 23rd chapter of Luke. And the two thieves, the two criminals on either side of him, are making fun of him. And then one stops and says, we deserve to be where we are. He doesn't. And Jesus is so ready to help these guys. And we see this spirit that Jesus has, this incredible attitude he has, like a little bit earlier when they nailed him to the cross. Do you remember what he said? He said, Father, what? Forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jesus used the trespasses or the trespassers in his life to imitate God by forgiving them. See what it means to be like Jesus? To be like Jesus, surely we would like to be more loving, more joyful, more sensitive, but here's a concrete way to measure it. When I'm tempted, do I see it as an opportunity to obey God? When I'm tried, do I use it as an opportunity to trust God? When I have time, do I use my time in such a way that I serve God? And when I am sinned against, am I able, by God's grace, to forgive those who have trespassed against me? Do I use those trespasses against me to imitate God and forgive? It's a very different way of looking at what it means to be like Christ. And I think it helps us to put some handles on it. It helps us to understand it a little bit more concretely. So God's goal for me as a disciple, this whole idea of basic Christianity, is that I become like Christ. By the way, to be a disciple, to be a believer, to be a Christian are interchangeable terms. I cannot say I'd like to be a disciple, but I don't really want to be a Christian. I don't like the name. I can't say I want to be a Christian, but I don't want to be a disciple. It's too hard. I can't say I'm a believer, but I'm really not, I'm not all in, so I don't want to be a disciple. They're interchangeable. What it means to be a believer is to be a disciple, is to be a Christian. So as you think about your experience today, are you a fan of Jesus? Are you a follower of Jesus? Are you committed to being a disciple? We're doing our best to help you to understand basic Christianity, what Christianity really is. What we want for our own lives and for the lives of our listening audience is that we all might please the Lord. And we do that by being genuine disciples, sitting at the feet of Jesus, following him, not just following him, serving him, not just serving him, testifying of him, not just testifying of him, interceding to him, not just interceding to him, but listening to him and worshiping him. This is Pastor Dave Watson. I hope you enjoyed our lesson today. Please come back again tomorrow as we dig in even deeper. Please go to CalvaryChapelSI.org. That's CalvaryChapelSI.org. Download the free Bible class. Sign up for the free Jesus First Pins. And while you're there, think about making a donation to God in our city. Can't wait to see you again tomorrow. God bless you. Have a great, great day.
Thanks for listening to God in Our City with your host, Pastor Dave Watson. We hope the show was a blessing to you. Again, to receive a downloadable gift from Pastor Dave, go to CalvaryChapelSI.org/GIOC. That's calvarychapelsi.org/GIOC. Please check out Pastor Dave's blog at nycshepherd.com. That's nycshepherd.com. Please invite a friend and join us every weekday for another edition of God in Our City.